So what we are actually trying to do is create a digital twin of the whole network. So today we use digital twins, but now what we're trying to do is let's think about it from a package perspective. When a package comes into our network, how do we create a digital twin? And how do we think about what are the characteristics of this particular package or a set of packages that needs to go across a network?
Welcome to Technovation. I'm your host, Peter High. My guest today is Bala Subramanian. Bala is the Executive Vice President and Chief Digital and Technology Officer at UPS, one of the world's largest package delivery companies with 2023 revenues of $91 billion, providing a broad range of integrated logistics solutions for customers in more than 200 countries and territories. In his role, Bala is responsible for leading the company's digital transformation to enhance customer and employee experiences, build digital fluency, and improve organizational agility. He drives the overall strategy, design, development, and execution of UPS's technology and industrial engineering functions. I look forward to hearing more about all of the above through this conversation. Prior to his current role, Bala was the Chief Digital Officer of AT&T, where he led the transformation of customer and employee experiences across all company touchpoints. Bala, welcome to Technovation. It's wonderful to speak with you today.
Peter, thank you, and it's a pleasure talking to you. I've listened to your podcast. It's really cool to be part of it.
Oh, it's my pleasure to include you as part of it, and thank you so much for being a past listener as well. That means a lot to me. Well, Bala, I mentioned in brief a bit about UPS, which I would imagine most people who are listening or watching this will have great familiarity with. But would love to have you, in your own words, talk a bit about the company in its current and perhaps near future state. How would you describe UPS's business, please?
UPS, as you know, has been here for 117 years now. It was started by Jim Casey in Seattle on a bicycle, and so it's been going through, and it's now one of the premium logistics providers in the world. I'm not sure if people know, we actually move about 6% of US GDP and 2% of international GDP every single day. We are in 220 countries. On an average, we move roughly about 20 million packages. So it's a massive operation that is across multiple countries, across multiple destinations. And we use all modes of traffic, right? Everything from planes, trains, automobiles, bicycles, electric vehicles. So it's a fantastic opportunity and an organization to be part of. What's incredible about UPS is the culture. It's the UPS way. You've probably read a lot of books that's been written by people, and we live true to the mission. Even today, when we start our meetings, we talk about what we call a legacy reading, which is really about the conversations that Jim Casey had to all the management teams over the last decades. And we pick a paragraph, we talk about it, we reflect on it. So we are connected to the roots. And it's very, very incredible to see how much it's connected. And an amazing thing for somebody who's come from outside, Peter, is to see how people are willing to put the company first. Like, anything the UPSers are about company first. And then it's a fascinating organization to be part of, and I'm really humbled with the opportunity.
Just extraordinary. Thank you for that overview. Bala, would also love to understand, in your own words, your role as Chief Digital and Technology Officer. What does that entail, and what's within your purview?
Yeah, I can give you. So basically, think of my role, and as most of the companies, right? I'm an executive with certain responsibilities within the organization, and I bring my strengths into that one. So I have three layers, if I may, three teams that I have under me. The first one is all the technology. So that includes engineering and the IT technology that actually flows, and everything from how the planes run to the sorters to the network. All of those technology capabilities sit with me, Peter. And that's IT, engineering, security, the CISO, all of that functions actually reporting to me. The second one I have is called UPS Digital, which is really the digital capabilities which we have right now that we are incubating and building. And we consider ourselves as a startup. Now we are starting to scale that functionality over the next 3 to 5 years. And that is a team that I have. That includes sales, and it's a P&L organization with technology. So that is actually something we're incubating. And the third function I have is called the CX, customer experience, and self-service organizations and customer care. So UPS.com, the call centers, as well as the customer experience. That's the third organization I have, and that's also part of my team. So all the three different capabilities is what I'm running right now.
What a broad purview you have, and I'm looking forward to hearing more about some of the work done in each of these areas through this conversation. Bala, in a past conversation, you talked a bit about the recent Investor Day and some of the themes that were raised there. And I know that as you mentioned, it highlighted the fact that the organization is moving from a logistics provider to a logistics orchestrator. And I'd love to have you describe the difference between those two and the suggestion of a broader set of value that might be provided that the logistics orchestrator would suggest. Please provide some definition of the terms as well as what those entail, please.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think if you think about what we talked during our investor and analyst conference, we want to talk about how we will actually try to take share and grow our addressable market. And we made these declarations, right? We said in the US, our SMB penetration, small and medium business penetration will be about 40%. We also talked about being the number one premium healthcare integrator and number one complex healthcare logistics provider in the world. So we actually laid out those three declarations. And then I'll come to the logistic orchestration part of it. I think orchestration, typically when I think about that, it's really about how do we become the premium logistics orchestrator by connecting the physical and digital supply chains end to end. So that's one of the things we actually declared. And to do that, we already have, as I said, we have a very deep and a broad integrated network across the world. Now, what we are doing is building this digital capability as a growth enabler so we can start putting digital and physical together. So when you're able to make digital decisions, you also have a physical network that can now truly make that decisions come to life. So the orchestration is really the combination of making decisions with digitally and actually taking action physically. And that's what we're actually trying to do. An example would be, we look at visibility. Like we see that a customer actually has a challenge, like they can see that, oh, this product is at this place, but I want to make a decision to say, okay, instead of sending this particular shipment to place X, I want to make it into place Y. Visibility provides you information as to when it's going to go, where it's going to go, how long it's going to do. Physically, you have to be able to intercept the package and be able to reroute it, and that only happens in the physical domain. So this connection between digital and physical is what we think about as logistics orchestration, and that's what we're really excited, connecting those things together. And typically it's done. You can ask, oh, why is it not done before? But now we are bringing it more real time and make it more adaptive so that we can actually do it based on multiple variants.
Remarkable value, certainly. And I can only imagine all that needs to go into bringing that to life. Easier said than done, certainly. And remarkable that yours is an organization that has developed the capabilities to do that. I wanted to, and perhaps a related topic, this broader theme of customer experience, which I know, as you noted, is an area within your purview as well. Can you talk a bit about some of the investments that you're making to enhance customer experience and the extent to which that's a suggestion of increased collaboration with customers in a digital realm?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think if you step back and look at logistics, there are two customers we have. So one is the shippers who actually ship the product, and equally and importantly, also there is the recipients who actually get the product from us. So we sit between the shippers and the recipients, right? So the customer experience, you talk about the customer, you have to make sure you look at who are you talking about, right? So one is the recipient experience and then the shipper experience. And we start to look at both of them right now. One of the investments we are making is traditionally within logistics, and this is true across all. I come from a retail industry. Carol comes from a retail industry. Yeah, as you know, we've actually moved from a multi-channel, like every channel is individual, to an omni-channel customer experience. Because the last time you and I probably shop, we don't think about which channel we use, whether it's online or whether we looked at an ad somewhere else and we decided to shop. There's a lot of buy online, pick up in store, return in store when you buy online. So a lot of these things are actually happening. So as we think about what we are doing within UPS is that how do we really bring the channels together so we can provide an omni-channel experience for our customers? And what it means is for the shipper, we are able to provide them the capabilities online that they can actually manage the accounts and how they are shipping. At the same time, if they want to talk to our salespeople, we can absolutely talk to them. They can also talk to an account executives. That is also possible. So the connecting those two things together, and then also making sure the call centers are there. And when they call the call center, the work that they've already done can actually be connected together. That's where one of the investments we are doing is connecting these channels together so the shipper is able to get a seamless experience across all of them. On the recipient end, we are trying to do the same thing too, right? When you go online and when you call the care, are you able to get the consistent message? Are we able to understand what work you've already done online so we can then, when we go to our agent, they're actually able to understand the same things. And we are on a journey, Peter, right? With most of the companies who do it. Initially, everybody starts with you start in one channel, finish in one channel. Now we are starting in one channel, and now you can finish at any channel. And to do that, you have to connect the backend systems, the backend data. So when a customer starts online, we can say, here's how much work they did. And then when they move to the customer care channel, they are now able to figure out, okay, I pick up where I left, so I can finish the work in the different channel. And this is one of the investments that we're trying to make, is to connect this to an omni-channel customer experience. In my mind, and when I think about customer experience cannot be successful if you don't have a superior employee experience. So if you call care agents, they have no information about why you're calling because they have to look at 20 different screens and they have no information coming in. That's never going to work. So we're also investing in making the agents become, frankly, we call it like we make every agent a super agent. So when the customer calls in, they're able to get the information they have so they can really start resolving the challenges that they have at the first contact. It's a journey, as you know, right? It's never going to be done on one day. So we've already embarked on the journey. We are starting to make some changes. We are starting to do the investments. So that's where the bulk of the work is going on. I'm also happy to say that, before my time, there's a lot of investments that's been made, and we focus not on individual instances, but we actually focus a lot on customer journeys. And we've actually taken saying, okay, what are the 16 journeys that we have? And are we making the changes for our customers across the journey? An example is if you're a customer, when you're a shipper, you want to have a bill payment and you have to be able to understand the bill. We looked at that journey and saying, is it easy for you to do? Similarly, account setup. Is the journey easy for you to do across all the channels, regardless of if you call your account executive or if you go online, is it easy to do? So we're also starting to move in those areas so that we can ensure that we are looking at the journey and improving the NPS on the journey while we're also starting to connect the channels together. So it's almost like, does it make sense if it's almost connected and one is the channel based and the other one is journey based.
And I wanted to ask you, I know a related topic, which I mentioned at the top, is part of your responsibilities is developing broader digital fluency. And presumably, as you think about employee experience and its impact on customer experience, greater levels of digital fluency from the employee perspective then enhance the ability also to impact those customer journeys and the digital customer experience more generally speaking. Can you talk a bit about the way in which you have thought about developing and fostering broader digital fluency?
Absolutely. And I think, people think about digital transformation. A lot of people, I've been lucky enough to be part of two digital transformations, one at Best Buy and one at AT&T. And it is less about technology. It's less about process. It's more about people. It's really about the mind shift change to go from how do you really think from a digital mind shift. So a lot of kudos to Carol and others. Before I joined the company, we started taking these things. We were partnered with Emory University, and then we actually had digital fluency program. What is it to really think from a digital mindset? Like, the MVPs we talk about, the lean agile investments we are making. How do you really think about hypothesis? How do you think about the outside in approach? So there's just a lot of different, we actually set up a class and we had every senior leader and then the middle managers, everybody go through this digital fluency class. So you start to really say, okay, when you talk to people, are we using the language about, okay, what does the customer experience look like? What problem are we solving for the customer? So that fluency is one that I'm pretty excited about, right? We are starting to bring in. The second one, as you talk about where we are going, is we started to get the basics about how to think from a digital mindset. Now we're adding data on top of it. Now we're saying, okay, digital fluency cannot just only be about digital quote unquote, but it also has to be about data fluency. Like, is the data providing you the information? And what insights are you getting from it? And with respect to Gen AI, which is quite exciting, right? You can get any answer you want, right? So if you start asking the different questions, so are we getting the insights or are we getting a confirmation about what you need the data to tell you? So those are all the data fluency that we need to have and really understand what we have. And that's one of the things we're expanding on. So I'm excited about the migration from just about digital fluency to now data fluency. And it's a journey, right? And that's what we're actually embarking on now.
Again, a related topic, I know, to a couple of different themes that you've talked about to breathe life into the consequential innovations you've already mentioned is this notion of the network of the future. And I know in some ways you've described it as rethinking, how would we do things if we were a startup today? You even referenced the fact that you consider a portion of what you're developing as a startup essentially within a 117-year-old going concern. Talk a bit about the way in which you think about and breathe life into this network of the future.
Absolutely. So and you said, like, we asked the question, what would the network look like if we build it from scratch today, right? Because we're building an existing network we've been actually building for 115 years. And if you start today, the answer most likely will be like, it has to be real time. It has to be able to be flexible, and it is also adaptable. And it is adaptable based on the products we actually provide, like our products, the packages that we take into the network, the service levels we provide to our customers, and frankly, the customer needs. So, the network has to be able to manage and adapt to those things. And that's when we said, okay, if this is what the network needs to be for the future, what can we start doing today? And I think from my perspective, network of the future has two components, right? Number one, we have to start looking beyond component level optimization. So we can optimize. When I say component, think about airline as a component. We optimize the component of the airline really well. We can also do the last mile optimization. We can do the middle mile optimization. We can also work closely with the customer to figure out how we can optimize getting information from them. But these are individual components. If we want to make the network adaptable, we have to make the optimization network. And that's what we're actually thinking about. Okay, that's number one. Number two, the second component what Network for the Future has is it's about automation, because automation of the network will actually make what we say is the network level optimization at the digital side to actually happen in the physical side. So those are the two areas when I think about Network of the Future. Those are the two components we have. We can talk about the how, right? But this is like what it actually means to be a network of the future.
Yeah, I would love to get into the how as well, if you don't mind. Why don't you take it from there, if you would?
Yeah. So I think so if I think about like this digital side of it, if you think about network level optimization, so what we are actually trying to do is create a digital twin of the whole network. So today we use digital twins. We have a digital twin of our package car network. We have a digital twin of our airline network, and we actually start to plan. And obviously, we've been running this for a long time. We have a tremendous amount of AI and ML put into all of these areas. But now what we're trying to do is let's think about it from a package perspective. When a package comes into our network, how do we create a digital twin? And how do we think about what are the characteristics of this particular package or a set of packages that needs to go across our network? And by creating this digital twin, we call it twin of twins because it actually sits across multiple optimizations. Then we can start to look at what is the need that has for this particular package or set of packages we have. An example could be, because not all packages are the same, right? A vaccine that flows through our network versus, Peter, you may buy a blazer. These are two very different characteristics, right? There is temperature, humidity control, things that we need to do for a vaccine that probably is not needed for your blazer. So how do we really try to make sure that that level of specificity is there? And remember, I told you about our bold declarations. We want to be number one complex healthcare logistics provider. So if we want to be that, the network has to be able to adapt to the type of packages and the needs of the package that we have. And this is what the digital does. What automation does for us is it allows us to be able to bring those things together. So we have automation across multiple areas, right? We use automation from facility automation. We actually look at how do we really get some of the intensive tasks that may have some healthcare and safety improvements that we always continue to make, which is one of the things we're very proud of. Can automation help us to do that? So we bring robotics and automation to do like label application. The second thing we're also doing is something called we're moving from a scanning network, because traditionally what happens in logistics is people scan the packages and then put it in, then you do the assortation, and then it comes out, you scan it again. By using RFID, we are now starting to sense the packages. We don't need to scan anymore. And imagine the amount of work that is actually coming out, because now when a customer puts a label, conceivably, once we sense it, we create a twin. Now, or before it even enters into our environment, we're already ready with the routing that we would have to do. I come from, I have engineering background, right? So it's almost think of this more as an IP network. Like, how do I really make the logistics network breathe like the IP network, which is almost like the internet? And that's kind of the fascinating area that we are going towards right now. So every packet could be routed in an optimal way, and the network could itself be optimal. And that's kind of what we're actually trying to do with our logistics network today. And that's what the network of the future is, really starting to bring that adaptability into the network, because we can expand the network, but a lot of times you also have to think about shrinking. And the reason I say that is you don't want to build the church for the Easter, right? So if you think about our network during peak season, which is really during the Christmas season, we have a massive amount of traffic that comes in, and then it actually starts to come down. Now, typically, when you look at a logistics network, we can always expand to actually add the capacity, but we also have to shrink. And how do you really start to expand and contract? And that's one of the things we can do with this logistic network of the future.
Fascinating and remarkable in terms of value creation as a result of these innovations. I know another consequence of these innovations is it helps from a defense perspective as well. You have what you refer to as UPS DeliveryDefense, and I wonder if you can talk a bit about that as an additional consequence of some of these innovations.
Yeah, and we talked about UPS Digital, right? So as we think about moving packages from point A to point B, we have an integrated network, which actually helps us to do it really well. And we do it with we provide one of the best service experience for our customers. So it is really good, but it is on the transportation side. Now, how do we really start adding value beyond transportation to our customers? So we have all this data. We have 20 petabytes of data about every package that goes everywhere. So we have a lot of information. Our operational network almost emits about 1 billion signals every single day. We have over 700 million addresses because we deliver to all the places across 220 countries. So our question is, we asked, okay, how can we now add value to our customers? And delivery defense is one area we said we take all this operational data we have to run our operation network, take the information, create a use case as a capability that we can provide to the customers that not only helps them to have the best experience in delivering a package, but one of the things is, you know a lot about port piracy that's happening. You know a lot of fraud that's happening in terms of deliveries. Now we are looking at and saying, okay, this particular address, what does it do in terms of like a very simple, like from 1 to 10, what is the probability that this address is not a real address? So what now for the customer is it's not about the delivery cost, but they also don't lose the product. And product costs are always higher than delivery costs, right? So it's really important for them to be able to save their product. And that's what is extremely exciting for them. There's one interview that we actually showed during our investor day. When you're shipping precious metals, by using delivery defense, you can make sure that that address that you have is not a fake address and you're not actually getting scammed by someone, right? So this is really helping our customers. Again, using the data that we have on the operational side, we are now creating value for the customers in ways that we've not probably done before. And imagine that now we can do additional things on top of it. We have delivery defense. We also have an insurance business. We can actually provide better insurance as we think about high volume, high risk products that we actually ship. And that can extend right now. We can also provide customers, we have a subdivision. What can we do with respect to local authorities about, is it in a floodplain? Right? What happens there as we start laying out this new development that's coming in? So a lot of the things that we use from our operational network, we're trying to figure out, okay, what use cases do we have and how do we start expanding that forward? And that's what we're doing. That's when I talk about UPS Digital, that is one of my teams that is really thinking about the 20 petabytes of data, the operational capabilities we have, and really creating this as a service and saying, okay, how can we really add additional value to our customers?
Yeah, again, fascinating in terms of the breadth of the applications of the innovations that you and your team are putting in place, Bala. Thank you for that description. I wanted to ask you, more generally speaking, as you look to the future, Bala, what trends particularly excite you? We're already talking about numerous trends that are the backbones of so much of what you're bringing to life within UPS and on behalf of UPS's customers. What other trends excite you as you look to the future?
Yeah, I mean, I'd be remiss if I don't talk about the hype cycle we are in with Gen AI, right? So it is a phenomenal capability. Look, my age is obviously I've worked quite a bit, and if you recall our first days when the World Wide Web came in, right? So internet was there, but all of a sudden the browser just made it more democratic, and all of a sudden the entire thing took off after that. I see Gen AI as that. AI has always been there. In fact, we use AI in our environment quite a bit. We have algorithms that optimize the brokerage. Everything we do is using AI. But what Gen AI can do right now, Peter, I don't know if you would agree on this one, is it democratizes it. Anybody can use it. And all of a sudden, the democratization or the simplification of using something, asking questions and getting an answer fundamentally changes things, right? So I'm probably the biggest change that we are seeing. And I think the way the world or the technology is going to be the next 5 years from now, it's quite exciting to be. And we are very lucky to be in that shift being part of it. So we're excited about that. In fact, we won the CIO 100 award for the first Gen AI implementation we did with email. And we were able to send emails back to our customers using AI. And the cool thing is, with Gen AI, we can also add empathy. We can understand what phrases are coming from customers and then be able to tune our responses back, even though it's AI generating it, it actually has the how we would actually respond. And that was really fascinating for us to try. So I think that's one of the first ones that I see that's happening. The second one for us, if I think from a logistics perspective, I'm quite interested in how do you continue to look at automation? What is the move from, the excitement we have about humanoids? There is automation curve that is going on right now. Like there is these robots and the hands that move back and forth. But generally now it's slowly moving towards what do you do with respect to humanoids and how things are happening. So the whole automation maturity cycle is also something I'm quite interested in, right? What can we do? Because there is a lot of benefits for that, especially when you think about safety and security in facilities and things like that, where the robots could actually be partnering with the people. So there is just that innovation is quite interesting for me to see. And the third one is like really about what do we do with respect to data and how do you really start leveraging data to create innovative solutions. So we look at platforms, we think about logistics as a service is one thing I've actually talked about. How do you really create this as a platform? And that requires the rapid ability for you to connect multiple things or multiple systems, multiple services, and be able to provide to our customers. Innovation is happening in terms of scaling and almost creating a fabric of capabilities, right? So before we used to have very vertically integrated systems, like you have financials, you have HR. Now we are starting to say, how do you really start making it much more flatter? So the customers can get much more integrated services much more rapidly. So that's one of the things I see as a technology coming in. Of course, we talk about drones, we talk about other things that's happening there. And that's slowly starting to come there, right? What can we do with respect to autonomous flights? What can we do with respect to ability to leverage different ways of actually delivering the last mile? So there's a lot of innovation happening there. So I think that's the broader story we have. Probably the most exciting thing I'm personally working on is the RFID and leveraging RFID at scale, right? We talk about 20 million packages a day. Just imagine if we're able to put RFID on most of them, how much RFID do we have? What do you do with respect to that? And the interesting thing is where innovation can go is we can put an RFID outside the box that is going to make logistics and visibility for our customers phenomenal. But how do you connect what is outside the box with inside the box? Now that's a game changer, right? So there's a very cool thing that we can do with respect to connecting what is inside the box with how it's moving. And now all of a sudden, it unlocks tremendous amount of value for the customers. And I think that's one of the things we're also thinking.
Fantastic thoughts all around. Again, Bala, I appreciate that. Look, I also wanted to ask you, Bala, as somebody who has now had broad responsibilities as a tech and digital chief at Best Buy, at AT&T, of course, now at UPS. As you reflect on your journey, I wonder what difference makers there have been along the way for you, secrets to your success that have allowed you to reach the heights you have now at multiple large-scaled organizations. What comes to mind?
I think many people come to mind. So, a lot of times it's about what problem are we solving? And, if I go into an organization, is the opportunity there for having to solve tough problems? And sometimes it's the transformation that actually excites me, right? Best Buy was a great transformation. AT&T was a great transformation in terms of how we really think about bringing technology to make the digital changes that we would have to make on AT&T. And of course, now UPS. So those are the things that really excite me. A lot of times it's really about like, is the leadership of the organization aligned with where we want to go? Like, is there a need that is going to be able to shift it? It's largely about the larger organizations, which it's not a .com, it's actually these, what I call the omni-channel organizations. So you can truly make a difference in people's lives as we start thinking about making those transformations, employees, customers. So, and frankly, the broadly through the country, right? So that's one of the things I look for. And is the leadership really focused on it? A lot of times, if the management and the leadership are not focused, digital transformations are not successful. Right. So you have to, as a leader, you have to be involved in it. It's not like magic, right? It's a grind every single day. You have to grind it and you'll see a tremendous change but you won't know because when you're going through the actual work. So digital transformation is, it's not like writing, it's not a higher level book, right? Oh, it's easy to do. These are the 5 elements, go do it. I mean, every day it keeps changing. And then the changes you make are so minimal and it's smaller, but it adds to some massive amount of transformation. But when you're working through it, that actually becomes there. So the question is, are the people willing to do it? A lot of times it's really about the culture, Peter, right? Is the culture going to help us to do it? And is the culture willing to be moved? And sometimes you have to find out, is the culture going to be resisting it too much? It's going to be challenging. But I've been blessed enough to work in 3 areas where the culture was very much empowering and also accommodating to make those shifts.
Well, as an executive, no doubt you were key in ensuring that culture was oriented appropriately as well. But Bala, thank you so much for those reflections, and thank you so much, more broadly speaking, for a wonderful conversation. The depth of the insights that you've shared, I can understand why you're so excited about the future, given the number of innovations that you and the team are driving. And I appreciate you sharing some insights about each through this conversation today. It's been a pleasure.
Peter, thank you so much for the time. And then I always enjoy, like I said, listening to your podcast. I'm so glad to be having an opportunity to talk to you live.